Okay, in this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to model the blades of 4 different knives and swords. So I'll start off with something simple like a kitchen knife, in this case a Kramer knife. Now I've already set up the image reference in Maya, so the first thing I want to do is to create the blocking object. And in most cases, I'll start with a cube. So polygon cube, and I will assign it with a material so that I can see through it against the reference image. So I'm going to assign a new material. I'll assign a Lambert. I prefer Lambert because it doesn't reflect light like a blind, and I'll generally add a color so that I can see a little bit clearer, and I'll just give it about 50% transparency so I can see through the cube. And because the knife is generally a wedge, if you viewed at it at the front, I'm going to give it a subdivision height of 2 for this knife, and then a width division of 1. Okay, next I'm going to switch over to vertex, and then I'm going to create my base object for blocking out the knife. So first I'm going to scale it in perspective view, and I'm going to grab the bottom vertices at the bottom here and then scale it so that I have the knife edge here. Now if you look at the kitchen knife, the knife edge at the sharpest edge here is very near the edge. Okay, so it's right at the bottom, the cutting edge. So I'm going to grab these group of vertices and I'm going to move them down, and I'm going to scale them in the x-axis until I form the cutting edge. In fact, I can move this thing, move it down a little bit more. Okay, so I have my base object, which I modified from a cube to form the knife blade. So now I'm going to switch over to a layout where there are two panes side by side. So I'm going to leave one of the panes as perspective and the other pane at the right view. I'm going to press number 6 so that I can show the texture. And right now I'm going to move and scale. I'll start by scaling this cube, what used to be a cube, to match the size of this blade. I'm going to find the section where everything is pretty much parallel. Okay, so I match the scale here. Now I'm going to switch over the vertex mode. I'm going to grab the vertices and I'm going to pull them forward until it reaches the tip here. And then while the vertices are still being selected, I can switch over to the scale and just simply scale them down, and taking note not to scale them down too much because you want to manually move the vertices. So I'm just going to scale them to this point, and I'm going to grab these two vertices over here. Now if you can't see it, you can always use the perspective view to grab the vertices. Now these two vertices I'm gonna just move it up so I can see the cutting edge, and perhaps these upper vertices here can be narrower still, like this. Okay, so now we want to add a bunch of edge loops, insert edge loops over here and scale them up until they match the shape of the blade. So I'm going to right mouse click and switch to edge mode. Click on one of the edges, hold down the shift, right mouse click and choose insert edge. And I'm going to insert one edge, maybe right about here, and then perhaps another one right about here. Okay, while this edge is still being selected, I'm going to just rotate it slightly and then switch over to my scale and just scale it up, and then switch over to move and continue to scale until it matches the width of the blade. Switching over to vertices, I can scale and at the same time switch over to move. I'm going to move it roughly about the center here and then scale to match the knife blade. And you can see there's a curve here. I need to insert another edge loop and spread it out until the shape generally matches this curvature here. So again, while this edge loop is still being selected, I can also rotate it slightly. I prefer to have a perpendicular angle of 90 degrees landing on a curve, and then using scale again, scale it down slightly. Okay, I'm going to manually select the upper top group of vertices and move it up until it matches the scale. And again, going back to my tool column here and choosing the last used tool, I can click and insert an edge loop, and then I'm going to scale this up and move it down and scale it up a little bit more, and there you have it. I might want to insert one more edge loop right about here because I want to get the curvature right over here, and that's it. Okay, so I've got the entire blade covered. Okay, let's take a look at it in the 3D view. So if you look at the front view here, you'll notice the blade has a nice wedge-like appearance. Okay, so even if I subdivide this by pressing number 3, it should hold its shape. Okay, as you can see over here, it generally holds the shape very well until it reaches to the end here. So for this section here, all we need to do is just to add another edge loop and push it right to the edge here. So I'm going to press 1 to go back to non-subdivided and use my insert edge loop tool here, click and drag it back. Alright, so if I go to custom here, I can go to the insert edge, create an insert edge loop shortcut by pressing Ctrl Shift insert edge loop into my custom, since I use insert edge loop quite often. So now that I've inserted an edge loop at the end here, I'm going to press number 3, and you can see now it is subdivided, yet it still maintains the edge very well. Okay, so right now I'm going to adjust the transparency of the material, and I'm gonna just reduce the transparency, and you can see I have the blade, but the top part I'll prefer it to be flat, so I need to insert another edge loop that runs across on the top. So again, I'm going to use insert edge loop. Right now I have it as a shortcut in my custom shelf. Then click on the edge here, drag to the top in order to tighten the top part of the edge. Press Q to go to select, and there you have it. I have the knife blade created. Okay, perhaps over here, if I go to the non-subdivided, I would like to have these vertices to be closely packed together so that they will form a tighter knife edge. So I'm going to grab these group of vertices and using scale and scale them closer a little bit. Then I'm going to press number 3 and then inspect to see whether they appear sharper. Okay, and they do. And in fact, I still notice a very round edge on this blade, so I can insert an edge loop right along this edge loop here. So using my insert edge loop again, I'm going to insert one edge loop in between here just to tighten up the edge. So now I press number 3 to subdivide this, and now the blade looks really sharp. Okay, and as for the rest of the blade, you can select or insert another edge loop here, which I'm going to do right now. Insert one more edge loop about here. Okay, and you can use select faces. Okay, and extrude it. You can press Ctrl E, and then I'm just going to press W to move and pull out the tang of the blade. So I'm going to insert another edge loop to tighten the edge here and the edge here, and so we have created the blade. Now I won't be showing you how to create the handle. In this video I'm primarily showing you how I approach creating the blades. Okay, so let me just change the renderer a little bit so I won't have these black artifacts hanging around. Okay,